Welcome to the Capital, everyone. My name is Orian. I'm a VP here at MarketAcross PR, and I will be moderating this discussion around virtual economies in the Metaverse that we've all grown to love and speculate about. With me are two amazing speakers and talented executives from the space. Guys, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Quantum Wilder, the CMO of Wilder World. Wilder World is a 5D photorealistic metaverse built on Ethereum and Zero and Unreal Engine 5 that's currently in development, and excited to be here.
You also are a very cool avatar. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sebastien Borget. I'm the COO and co-founder at the Sandbox, as well as the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. The Sandbox, it's a decentralized gaming virtual world where anyone can make 3D content as well as experiences and games, and monetize them through the use of blockchain technology as well as NFTs.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you and a great honor, Sebastien. So before we get started, just for the audience and the people at home or in the metaverse, keep in mind that around the last 5 minutes of this discussion, you guys will be able to ask questions. So you can actually start pasting them into the Discord if you have any. And the guys here will be glad to answer them so long as we have time. And that's it. Let's get started. So we have a very intimate chat here today, so this should be pretty good. I would like to start off with the current vibe right now. So as we all know, unfortunately, we're running into what seems to be a bear market. And I'm curious to hear from both of you guys. How are you experiencing this as executives of metaverse companies? It's kind of like a first for the metaverse in its current iteration, right? I mean, the industry is now fully taken off. It's more than just a thing. So how is it working for you? How is it feeling?
Well, maybe I can jump in first. Like, we just celebrated the 10 years anniversary since we first launched the Sandbox. And actually, we've been building this blockchain-based platform for the past 4 years already. So we essentially have started Sandbox when the market was in kind of similar condition. It's called the crypto winter, which has given us, I think, the strength and like the motivation to push things even more further and focus even more around building. That's been actually, as an entrepreneur, I spent the last 10 years into gaming, the last 15 years across 3 other startups before. So I've always been focused around product, around like building for the right audience. That's what we've done so far. And we are now like, I think, starting to see the benefit of that since our platform is live. Most of the products are accessible already in alpha or in beta stage. We just passed the 3 million registered wallet users as well. Recently, we had our alpha season back in March with over 350,000 monthly active users. We just passed the 21,000 landowners. So far, Sandbox has a great velocity in terms of like growing, attracting more and more IPs and brand, more than 300 partners. We just announced Elvis on chain today. Sand is now the utility token of the platform. Sand is also available globally. We listed in Japan this week. We listed in US today. So it just, I think, doesn't change anything on our side. Like, it's been always into our approach to focus on the right fundamental, to build a community that's here for the right reason, for the USP of the platform, which is essentially empowering creators and delivering value to the creators and to the users who contribute to the growth of this virtual world, and to keep making it more accessible and more rewarding for those users and all the different audience that compose our community.
So it sounds like the people in the Sandbox are unafraid and they've known the crypto winter. So it seems like you guys are rocking steady. How about you, Quantum? How's it looking in your end?
Yeah, we're excited. We look at bear markets as bear markets are for builders. Our founding team, we share a founding team with our sister company Zero, which is a tech platform we're built on. And Zero was originally developed in the last bull market, so the team's already been through a full bear market. We were well prepared for this, and we were able to complete a raise before the market correction started, and held our treasury in USDC. So we currently have a very substantial runway, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 years of capital to continue building and growing the organization. So, we just look at it as an opportunity to hunker down and build. We also are just really proud of our community. We have a very engaged community behind the project that keeps growing even in the bear market. Our NFT collections are currently at all-time high floor prices, and our 30-day volume on their collections has been at an all-time high as well. So, the enthusiasm for the project remains strong, and we've got the capital and know-how to get through any kind of bear market. And it's, we look at it as an opportunity. I feel like there's a lot of projects in the crypto space that are a lot of talk that aren't really building great products. And in these types of cycles, we'll see those guys get flushed out, and we'll see companies that are really investing in product and infrastructure and really building something special. They're the ones that come through strong on the other side. We saw what happened to Sandbox during the last bear market. They came out much stronger on the other side, along with a lot of other people. And we're super grateful for you guys over at Sandbox, having paved the way, the metaverse being the on the frontier of this decentralized metaverse trend, and in support of all the decentralized metaverses out there, and just the vision for an open metaverse for the people.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. It sounds like I think a key takeaway from this is perhaps like having a strong community is a great way to also continually pull yourself out of these stagnant times in the market as well. And it's also nice to hear you guys are bonding. So that's also cool. All right. Next question from my end. Let's talk about some things in the horizon before we tap into the meat of this discussion, which is economies. I'm curious to hear if you have anything key that you're working on right now, perhaps interesting tech development or something you're experimenting with or just excited about that you can talk about here in this panel.
Well, we just had last week a major IMA with our community of landowners about essentially what's ahead of us this year. And if I may summarize, we're working on 3 essential aspects. The first one is to provide more utility for landowners and provide them the ability to publish directly on their land before the end of the year. So much earlier than we anticipated, with giving them all the tools so they can make access, can give access publicly to their land and start monetizing them. In the meantime, we have also in place various incentive for them to stake the tokens, as well as contribute toward the overall economy of the platform, and even start earning the first resources that will be needed by artists and creators to mint their asset on the marketplace. The third big change, I think, is all around the finalization of migrating everything towards Polygon. So we moved Sand token earlier this year. Land is coming end of June. Asset is coming in June as well. So we're definitely moving toward all of the Polygon, which means we'll have faster transaction, gasless transaction, meaning no other currency than Sand needed. Everything toward a more optimal UX and performance over the use of blockchain by the end user. And we're also providing more creative capability for all users who want to start building the experiences that will populate the metaverse, through essentially adding key features around multiplayer gameplay, making sure everything will be multiplayer in the metaverse, as well as various features towards virtual concert and virtual shows. So creators can start on their land hosting their own festival and all sorts of events, etc., which will keep making the metaverse, we hope, a very creative space where there's always things happening and pushing beyond the barrier of our imaginations.
Sounds very exciting indeed. And what about you, Quantum?
Yeah. Our 3 big areas of focus this year are, initially, one is our land launch, and we're going to be launching our Miami, which is a prototypian version of Miami that takes place in a future dimension of reality. And so our initial land offering is going to be the South Beach area of Miami, the island, and a lot of our crypto partners and Web3 partners have land there already and are building headquarters for their holders. And that's really going to be like our land debut is going to be launching Miami. We also have a partnership with the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, and many organizations within Miami that we're going to be connecting the IRL with the Metaverse type experience through multiple activations later this year, which we're really excited about. The second thing we're really excited about is really our DAO system, which is part of our sister company Zero, but is very integrated into Wilderworld. So every single one of our NFT industries is run by a DAO. And, this panel is about like the metaverse economy, and we're deep believers in creating an actual economy, an open economy that's owned and governed by the users. So how our DAO system works is 100% of all the profits generated from Wilderworld and all its assets that are sold goes back to the holders of the Wild token and the Wilderworld NFTs. So once our artist royalties are paid, and the expenses of producing the collection are paid, 50% of the profits go into the industry DAO and 50% go into the Wilderworld DAO. And the industry DAOs are controlled by the NFT holders in that industry, and the Wilderworld DAO is controlled by the token holders of Wilderworld. So, and they're basically deciding how those funds are being spent to help further the industries and the economies within the Wilderworld metaverse ecosystem. So that's something that our voting system and the ability for our community to actually take ownership of that is going to be launched in the next few months here. So we're super excited about that. And then the third piece we're excited about launching this year is the Wilder Wheels racing game, Alpha Edition. So if you've seen our trailer or you've seen our initial Wheels collection, which is one of our first collections we launched, it's an amazing, really thrilling racing game that's going to be the first in-game activation in Miami, the first micro game, so to speak, that's going to exist with the launch of Miami. So we're excited to bring that out to the public as well.
That's very cool. Very, very metaversey as it gets, I think. And I do really appreciate the vision of sharing some of the profits with the community, or a DAO in this case. And I think this kind of takes us to the heart of our conversation. And I think we should definitely start with real estate, as you have just touched upon. So land sales have topped over 500 million last year, and they're set to exceed this mark. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where do you predict this asset class will take? Will things stay stagnant? Will you introduce any new features? Will you find ways to address scarcity, which is actually a very hard topic that's been brought up repeatedly in the discussion around metaverse real estate? Do you have any plans for that?
So actually, out of the $500 million total volume of last year, Sandbox represented about 64% last year in terms of land. And there's very simple reason to explain that. First of all, like, virtual land as an NFT is really easy to understand. Like, it's similar to real estate in the real world, and we're already familiar with some of the key business model around real estate. It's an NFT that has a real utility behind. You can own land and you can use it to publish experiences, giving access to other users through their avatar to experiences, games, and much more. Or you can just own it and rent it to other creators. And even though the metaverse will be ultimately this infinite series of virtual worlds, which us with our users with our avatar will be going from one to another, you will have some metaverse, some virtual world like Sandbox with a finite number of lands. And in those space, most particularly in Sandbox, we're aiming to become like the virtual Manhattan, the virtual Tokyo, the virtual Hong Kong or Paris, places that are full of culture, places that are vibrant 24 hours out of 24, 7 days a week, full of like all sort of content, not just games, but like art, galleries, museum, education, jobs. You can find like clubs, music, virtual concert, exploration, culture from all around the world, since our communities and all our partners include partners from Hong Kong, like South China Morning Post, Tatler Asia. We just announced L'Officiel, which is about like culture, lifestyle. You have Gucci. You have partners from Korea with SM Entertainment. You have partners from the US and Europe. So really a place that's going to bring a lot of users from anywhere around the world, and that they feel like owning the land and becoming the virtual neighbor of some of those IPs, celebrities, or key communities in the space will be exciting and will make them want to spend time with their avatar into those places.
Thank you. So it sounds like you're taking the same similar approach by rule the world by introducing real life locations into the metaverse, and by that you create a finite sense of scarcity.
There's no mapping of the real world. It's more like some of the real world IPs are coming, like Shibuya 109, a very famous landmark place from Japan, from Tokyo, but they are actually leveraging the technology and the creation tool to offer more creative things and experiences augmented through technology and bring and make them accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. But our world is composed of 166, 164 lands. We sold about 70% to date, so we still have 30% of lands to be sold for the next years. We have no rush of selling them out. And we want to continue building value and utility for landowners and for users, which will overall grow the total value of our map. Right now, I think it's about $2 billion, the total value of the Sandbox map. And that will keep incentivizing in the future more secondary sales between users and brands, users and communities, as well as doing primary sales with some of key IPs, which should drive up the overall market value, like we mentioned, to $500 million to probably much more over the next years.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Quantum, what's your plan?
Yeah, so just to start out, Wilder World is built on our sister company tech platform called Zero. So we're actually the first metaverse built on Zero, and Zero is comprised of universes, galaxies, and worlds. And we are the first world that is launching on the Zero ecosystem, and there is a finite number of although it's a very large number of metaverses that can exist in that ecosystem, and all of them are going to be, all the assets are going to be, you're going to be able to use them between the metaverse and move them around between the various metaverses. So we're really building a foundation for an open metaverse. Within Wilder World specifically, Miami is our first city, and there's going to be a total of 111,369 plots of land in Miami, and that'll be the cap of land in Miami, and we're going to be selling it in phases over time, over a longer period of time. So the initial city in Wilder World, one exciting part about our land project is we're actually going to be the first procedurally generated metaverse. So we're actually procedurally generating the whole city, all the buildings in the city, and the different eras of the city are being programmatically, procedurally generated. And when somebody mints a piece of land in Wilder World, they're actually not only just minting the piece of land, but they're going to be able to engage in mechanisms that actually create the building to be built on their land. And then the user themselves would be able to fractionalize that building and put it into a DAO and sell off different sections or floors of that building, so to speak. So, if someone got really lucky in our mint and they minted a large, 20-story skyscraper, they could sell off each floor to 20 different owners and create the governance models within the DAO on how that building's going to be managed. Our users also have the ability of tearing down that building and building something completely fresh from scratch. Now, the only challenge with that is Wilder World is built on Unreal Engine 5, and it's built to be a very photorealistic, immersive type of metaverse experience. So for someone to do that, they are going to have some capabilities to engage in 3D architecture and building for Unreal Engine, either themselves or through an agency or a partner. So one interesting thing about our land project compared to other metaverses we've seen is we're using some real world physics and mechanisms within our project. And one example is that time itself is actually a deflationary mechanism. So you're not going to be able to teleport anywhere you want in the metaverse very easily. You're going to have to actually get around the metaverse through different means of transportation. And so your location and where you own land and own real estate in the metaverse is going to be where you spawn into the metaverse, and location will matter. So there will be benefit to being right next to a cultural hub and located where you can just pop right out of your condo and engage with friends and events and things that are happening. So we're really focused on creating that location, and that's part of that is what's going to drive the scarcity. And within Miami, we're going to have different districts and different areas that are going to be themed around different purposes and attract different types of culture and people and events and experiences. And we're looking forward to launching our first events later on this year.
Very cool. Thank you for that. These are some very creative mechanisms, I think. On to the next question. I would like to build up on that, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you think will be the next economic markets in the metaverse? So we have real estate that we've talked about quite a bit. We have NFTs occasionally, I'm sure, and I'm curious to hear if you're predicting any other asset class that is set to emerge that is going to change things.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think it's really interesting to see like how wider world has developed more advanced economics versus what Sandbox has proposed, maybe as metaverses are maturing, like we're seeing already some different and some very interesting concept and innovation here being tested. And at Sandbox, I think what we are seeing now is like definitely avatars. Like avatars become your entry point to the metaverse. They are not only your identity, they have an appearance, they have skills. Those skills can be leveraged to actually engage and complete quests, mission into the experiences, and maybe increase your rewards behind. Equipment as well can actually affect the skills of those avatars, and is an asset class that can definitely be looked at. Access pass and ticket, since you can use NFTs to gain access, so they become like as well, like in a way, opening the gate towards certain experiences and towards certain community and the rewards behind. And since in the case of Sandbox, we're user-generated content focused, and I would say 99% of the Sandbox will actually be made by players and users themselves. You will see on Sandbox platform hundreds of thousands of games launched by them. Those games will have also their own play-to-earn mechanism, maybe with gating, maybe with avatars, maybe with equipment, which means like there's a whole creator economy that's going to take place, and each of those games could have their own interesting tokenomics behind to look at and to figure like whether like certain NFTs will be more valuable as part of like the gameplay loop, the core loop, and the meta game into those.
Thank you. Quantum, what's your take?
Yeah, very similar to what Sebastien shared. We're big believers in the creator economy, and I think beyond just the initial foundation of what we're creating, because we really look at ourselves as stewards that are creating the foundation for the citizens of our metaverse, and we're really looking upon the citizens to start building the economies and creating the games, the businesses, the events, the experiences, the things that are happening in the metaverse. Obviously, we're going to be stewarding that for quite some time, and we've got some great partnerships and engaging games and things that we're launching through our core organization and the Wilder World DAO. And as we open the metaverse up to our citizens, we're over time we really see that is the future. The future is having that open metaverse that invites in the creator economy and really has our citizens create and innovate and build the foundation of the future there. I think, we're so early in this whole idea and concept of a metaverse. It's really about just having the right formula and space for the experiments to happen. So people can see how, so people just have the opportunity to innovate and to really dictate what the future of it looks like. I think no matter what we imagine in the boardroom, the metaverse is going to look like in 5 years, it's going to look very different because, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what kind of innovation is going to happen that really make it even more unique than we can imagine.
Thank you for that. That's great. We're soon nearing to closing out this panel, so I'm curious in terms of like your current value proposition, what has been working for you when trying to attract users right now? What seems to get people going about the metaverse? And also what opportunities might await for new users or people who are interested who are right now hearing this panel? What do you think can be a captivating point of entrance?
Whenever I talk to users, the thing they always say about Wilder World when they get engaged is they're just blown away by the quality of our assets and what we're creating, that we have some of the best in class assets. What you see, my avatar right here is just a 2D avatar, but we have a fully fleshed 3D version of this avatar that I own as part of this NFT. And I mean, it's 300 frames per second. All the movements of the avatar are already worked out, and it's metaverse ready to be used in Unreal Engine 5. So just like the amount of work and innovation that went into creating procedurally generating avatars at the scale that we have to really hold that photorealism and that quality has been really what, whenever we talk to new users of our community, that's usually what it's attracted them to our product and really blown them away. And we're just going to keep delivering on that super high quality photorealistic product and building on the foundation that we set.
Thank you. And lastly, Sebastien.
Sure, but I'd like to add, like, if we want to look a bit further over time, like, where are we all heading? Like with the metaverse, like what do we want to propose now that's already playable and accessible, but what's essentially the road ahead for like the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And well, I see three main challenges. The first one is definitely around creativity and content, which means like we need to provide the tools that will allow those creators, allow those brands, or those studios and the overall ecosystem that's among the landowners and the builder studios to be able to create amazing experience that not only will bring people once, but also will keep bringing people to come back on a regular basis. So we need to reinforce the mechanism behind, and we need to offer kind of experience that are not seen yet before in traditional gaming platform, meaning like focusing more on the experience than necessarily becoming transactional, growing the potential audience beyond just core gamers looking for like AAA quality games, but also like expanding into the universe of music, of concert, of culture, of architecture, of lifestyle, of fashion, etc. Ultimately, all the sectors, all the vertical that we're seeing in the real world, all kind of activity should be doable in the metaverse and be augmented by it. We should keep seeking in terms of technology, like how we make it more accessible and more creative at the same time. So bringing the Sandbox to mobile is one of our key goals. Bringing more like potentially down the line AR, VR possibilities to Sandbox that will allow to make things that we can dream of. So getting maybe closer to that science fiction vision that people have of the metaverse, which is now practically not possible at scale. And ultimately also making sure that they can do all of that into a safe environment. So those are the three pillars here that we keep in mind at all time as we keep building this platform, the different tools and showcasing the experiences, first taste of the experiences that users will be able to find in the metaverse.
Thank you. All right. So actually, I think you've summed it up quite a bit. It seems like you guys have very creative mechanisms for creating scarcity in the metaverse, and you have some really great plans for fresh asset classes, as well as really where users can possibly even create a side hustle from creating content. So that's awesome. And it seems like the bear market is not going to slow you down. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your input, and I really enjoyed this conversation. And to the viewers at home or in the metaverse, thank you so much for sticking with us, and enjoy the capital.